All right, what's up? Welcome back to another roundup with me, Bryan Drake. Oh, what's this? This is the brand new Halloween 2023 Dice Tower merch shirt, and you can get yours right now at dicetowerstore.com, but pre-orders are only up till October 1st, and they will be shipped out October 3rd and 4th. So get yours in, as there is a very limited quantity of these, but, I mean, have the greatest spooktacular Dice Tower shirt there is. Anyway, Roundup is a time in which we look at multiple games at once. Sometimes maybe they're longer games, and sometimes they're shorter games. A lot of times my roundups feature shorter games. Well, today we're breaking that mold. We're going to take a look at 4 games today. Number 1, what's that smell? Is that money? I smell money in the air. Disney Lorcana. In fact, so much so that I literally looked up, is Ravensburger a publicly traded company, when I was in Target and had my hands on my starter decks and could not find any else anymore. So just, it's not, unfortunately. But taking a look at Lorcana, and then we're taking a look at Marvel Dagger, not necessarily in this order. Taking a look at Chomp, and then last but not least, we're taking a look at 13 Words, a word game in which you are trying to read each other's minds. So let's take a look at these games right now, what they do. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts. dicetowerstore.com.
All right, this is Disney Lorcana. You already know about it. You've already seen it. You've already been sold on it. Heck, you're probably trying to find a booster right this very second while watching this video. So I'm not going to give you a full overview. I'm going to give you kind of how to play. This is my blue and silver deck. I can't remember what that's called. It's like Sapphire Steel or something like that. Yeah, love this deck. But I'm going to give you a quick overview how to play. When you start the game, you shuffle your cards, deal 7 cards. 6, 7. Look at your cards, and then you can play certain things. Ooh, look at that one. It's a good Simba. In order to play these cards, you need to pay the cost of them in ink. So this card would cost 5. This would cost 2. The way you make ink is any card with a special gold circle around it can be put in your inkwell as ink. Then let's just say, now that I have 1 ink out there, I can exhaust or exert this ink to play the goons out there. Now they don't come in just yet. Their ink is still drying, which also means they can't be attacked unless a card out there exists that has special characterizations or qualifications. But on your next turn, you'll draw a card, you'll ready everything, you'll set, and you'll draw. So you draw back, and now this card can play. Now it can do 2 things. It can quest, or it can challenge. If you want to challenge, you're going to put your attack against their attack, and everybody takes damage. There's no, well, I blocked this. Now there may be things to come with that, but this has 2 health. So if you're fighting someone with 2 health, well, let's just say Simba goes against this goon right here. Simba does 3 damage to the goons, they're toast, they're banished. And then they will still do the 2 damage to Simba, which he has 5, so they're going to hold off. Now, if you wanted to quest instead, you're going to say, I'm putting up for a quest, exert it. You check the amount of little lore symbols here, you'll gain that much lore. Now, if you've been exerted, you can then be challenged. If someone has not been exerted, they cannot be challenged. So this Simba currently could not be challenged. You'll play to the first person gets 20 lore. That's how you play Disney Lorcana.
All right, so first and foremost, that is Disney Lorcana. Now, obviously, this game is everywhere. You're hearing about it everywhere. Is it as good as the hype lives up? Well, let me just tell you, I did not play Magic the Gathering. I did have a first edition Charizard. I pulled it in 6th grade. My mom bought us a booster pack right after school. We opened it up. I'm sitting in car line, and I open it up, and I scream, it's a Charizard! Don't know where it is now. Probably worth a lot of money, even if it's all scrambled and cracked and stuff. But because we played with those things. We weren't collecting. But Lorcana is a game that is a Disney-related collectible card game. Now, if you know anything about us, especially the whole family, we're big Disney files, big Disney parks files especially. Love some Disney. I love obscure Disney. So when I see, like, you know, the Sword in the Stone, Black Cauldron reference, I'm like, yeah, that's my jam. This is a card game, obviously all about trying to fight, but not really, and collect the lore. So the question then becomes, okay, is the game as good as the hype? Because the game is hyped everywhere. People want this game. They are trying to get their hands on this game. Are they playing this game, though? Is it good? Well, let me just tell you, I adore this game. So much so that I am unfortunately going to become a meta player of this game, to the point where I will go and play Lorcana tournaments. If there's an event that has a Lorcana tournament, I'm going to play it. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to get every single new deck that comes out. If I walked into my Walmart or Target or Game Store today and they had booster packs on sale, I would drop some money on them. Like, I'm that invested. Like, I want to collect those. Like, I want the Tinkerbell. I want those alternate arts, right? I want those. I don't have any alternate arts. I'm really disappointed about that. But as far as the game, the art is amazing. The game it looks gorgeous. And what I love about it is every card is pretty simple to understand. Yes, there's a few keywords in this basic set. You know, you've got Guardian, you've got support, you've got those kind of basic keywords, but obviously more is coming as the sets grow more. But What I love is it's simple to pick up and play. You can teach this while you're playing. There are a few games that you can do that. You can just hand someone a starter deck and say, okay, draw 7 cards. Now on your turn, you can do this, this, and this. Now what I love about it too is the ink, right? I love that ink is just a resource. It's any card can become ink. So maybe I drew that Maui. Yeah, I want to play him later, but I don't really have room for him now, and I don't want to wait 8 turns to play him. So I'm going to make him my ink right now. To me, that is such a good idea to have the variable resource cost. Instead of attaching resource to your characters, you're attaching it to your whole kind of collection, whatever it's called. Anyway, the game looks great. I love the way it plays. And here's the deal. I don't love the way it plays just at 2. I love the way this plays at 4. Now, at 4, you're having to watch everybody, which is tricky, right? And so you think, okay, I'm setting up to stop this person, and then boom, she nails you from the side, which definitely happened to me. Aurora was banished. She died from Dragonfire, which we know that's not what happened in the story. Prince Philip shows up, kicks and tail. Right? So, nonetheless, I like the game at 2. I like the game at 4. I love this game. Lorcana is definitely something that's going to be a major part of my life going forward. I love this game. Now, that takes us to our second game. Let's take a look at Chomp, a completely different game, a game in which you are laying dinosaurs on the table to try to see if you can get the best dinosaur. Now, this is prehistoric. You're not making a dinosaur park, although the rules can be tweaked and the mechanics can be tweaked just a little bit to make it modern. We're talking about prehistoric. You got tar pits. You got nests. You got meat-eating animals eating not meat-eating animals. What are those called? Carnivores eating herbivores. Well, it's unfortunate, but hey, nature's red in tooth and claw. Circle of life stuff. I think that's what it says. I don't speak. Is it Zulu? I think it's anyway. You can correct me in the comments below. But anyway, Chomp is a game in which you're laying those dinosaur tiles out on top of each other. You're taking cards, you're taking potentially gold cards, and you're seeing if you have the best dinosaur ecosystem at the back end. So let's take a look at how it plays. We'll come back, talk final thoughts right now. All right, so this is Chomp. No, we're not shooting on the Jasper today because while it is the world's best board gaming table, it is in fact covered with Mansions of Madness right now. So there's that. But Chomp, this is a game from All Play, speaking of which, about dinosaurs in which you are going to play and make your best dinosaur, not habitat. This is the old world, right? This is prehistoric. You're gonna make some dinosaur park. I don't know what you call it. No, you're not making a park this time. You're actually just living with dinosaurs. So the way this works is these cards are double back. There are goal cards on the back and then placement cards on the front. You're going to take out a certain amount based on the player count, and you're going to lay 3 out of these here, and then you're going to lay 3 out of these here, the goal cards, and then that way you can see kind of what you're going for. So ideally, at the end of the game, you're going to get points for the couple different factors. Living dinosaurs, so big dinosaurs would be this size, give you 3 points each. Medium dinosaurs, this size, give you 2 points each. Small dinosaurs are 1 point each. Each egg you have, so you can put an egg, which you would get here, into a nest, which would be on some of these cards here. They have a net cards. There's Rodney for you. Some of these cards right here, right there. It's got a nest, see? Into your area. Now, what you're trying to do is make sure they're fed. So carnivores will eat meat. So these little rats, or capybaras, or whatever they are, will eat, if they're adjacent to in the same pin as a carnivore, they will eat that, whatever. But when you place these cards out, now notice a couple things. These mountains will separate. So even though this dinosaur is adjacent to that food pit, it is not fed because the mountain's here. Now, the herbivores are going to need to eat grass. So if you can do this in such a way as here, to where you now get the dinosaurs eating grass. But what's interesting is, let's just say this little red dinosaur here cannot get to this food. Well, before you score, he will eat whatever dinosaur of an herbivore is right here. So he'll eat that dinosaur. Tar pits at the end of the game are negative points as well. You'll count up your living dinosaurs. You'll get points for your gold cards, all the different gold cards. The person with the most points wins the game. Look at that. That dinosaur's fed. That's Chomp. First of all, big fan of this game. So much so that we played it multiple times back to back, and then we taught our 9-year-old. She's 9. Yeah, whatever. By the time you see this in Advent item, she might be 14. Who knows? But the game is really good. It's easy to pick up. It's easy to understand what you're doing. There are a few knacky rules. Oh, dang, this rock is actually stopping me from getting food to this dinosaur. But I think that actually adds to its charm. The choice every single time you go to pick a tile. Do I want this or should I get that gold card and build towards that? Is really fun. And it plays so fast. So if you're looking for a good tile or a card overlaying game where you can put cards on top of each other, next to each other, Chomp is definitely one to pick up. I really like this. All Play has been really doing a great job. Now listen, I know they're big part of the Dice Tower, obviously the Jasper here and all that, but this has nothing to do with my review. I really genuinely like this game, and it will be something that we play, especially with Harper, and then as Ellie gets a little older, for years to come. I love how simple it is, but also how in the simplicity, there's a lot of choices that need to be made. And to me, that's a really, really great mark of a good game, is that, okay, choices need to be made even in simplicity. So big fan of Chomp. Go check it out right now. Get your hands on Chomp if you can. So that takes us to a much bigger game, Marvel Dagger. That's right, Eldritch Marvel, right? Well, that's kind of what it's been described as, is the Eldritch horror with the Marvel Universe. But is it really that? Well, let's take a look, see how it plays. We'll come back and find out if that's really what it is or if it's something else entirely.
All right, see this big box here? This is Marvel Dagger. Because this is a roundup, we're not doing a full teach, but guess what? Thankfully, this company right here has a fantastic teach that will teach you the entire game in about 30 minutes. I know it's a little bit long, without you ever having to read this rule book. And it is a good video. I highly recommend it. But we're gonna take a look at a couple things. Now, this traveled with us from Texas, so it's a little disheveled right now. But the board, this is what I'm talking about. Look at this gigantic board. It's too big. Look, there's no reason for there to be this much space between all this stuff. Like, that's just useless space. We could have put a card deck holder there, but you'll hear me groan about that in the final thoughts. Yeah, see what I'm talking about. Look what the airplane did. I blame TSA for this. But two things of note. You're going to pick a role or an aspect sort of deal, and you're going to choose a character. Now, let me get all these aspects settled really quick. Yes, perfect. There we go. Now, then you have your characters. The aspect is interesting because you could have Jane Foster be the attacker, or a support character, or this vigilant character, or a determination character. The point is, you're not pigeonholed into just the character being a certain role. These will be better attackers, they'll be better support characters, they'll be leaders which can give other people actions and moves. You have this option, but then you can also pick your favorite characters. Now here's what's interesting. On the back of Jane Foster is Thor Odinson. So what happens is you choose one of these sides to play. When you get damaged up to your health level, you'll flip it over. And then you become the other character. So you have a legacy effect. If this character gets damaged, much like Eldritch Horror, you have one turn to get to the final showdown. Final showdown. And then it goes to the end of the game. But let's look through the characters really quick, because there's a lot of good choices and some good villains in here. You got the Thors, you got Daredevil, and guess who's on the back? Elektra. Yes, she's actually really good. Spider-Man, and you guessed it, Spider-Man. Venom would have been cool too, but Miles is great. You got Jericho Drum. Is this Brother Voodoo? I can't remember. Somebody let me know in the comments. And then you got, obviously, Doctor Strange. Black Widow, and Black Widow, the other one, the sister. Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. Hulk and She-Hulk. I was thinking Red Hulk, but that makes more sense. Iron Man, War Machine, Black Panther Shuri with the cape. Captain America, you guessed it, Falcon. Well, they call him Captain America there from that run. And then here's the villains that you can play against. You can play against, boy, this is all messed up. Thank you, TSA. You got Red Skull, you've got Ultron, you've got Loki, and Thanos. Now, they all play differently because they're going to have certain events that happen to do with their characters. And then you're going to pick some random stuff, too, that's just, you know, game-specific for the entire game. Boy, this is a mess. But what's cool is you also get these character cards that you can go on a personal quest for to get, and once you get your personal quest taken out of the way, you can get some of these cards here. But there's also support cards that this has a 6 cooldown, which means you need to do the action that puts, you're charging this for 6 points. Now you'll roll dice to kind of see, it's not an action per, and you'll charge that up, and once it's flipped, you can flip it over. But there's also certain cards that you get based on completing your personal mission, which are really good and they're very powerful, and you definitely want to do that. And if you're playing with Spider-Man, he can give the ability to get somebody else's card. You have your little standees. The one gripe I have is it's cardboard front and back. I would have liked to have seen acrylic, but then again, the cost would be exorbitant for that. You have all sorts of villains. You have some kind of, the Nemesis are the main villains, but you also have some other villains that come out there like Whiplash and what's his name? The one from Black Widow. Taskmaster and all that sort of stuff. See how I kept that spoiler free? You got Taskmaster, and then you fight these villains, you'll go on quests, you'll do the missions, you'll do the events, and then hopefully you'll get to the end where you flip this over after doing the 3rd Nemesis mission, flip it over and have the final showdown, which involves you beating this villain completely, ridding it, go home, have some shawarma. So that is Marvel Dagger, and that's it for this roundup.
All right, so that's Marvel Dagger. Now, Again, did not do a full overview because my gosh, there's a lot of rules. And we had a festival show a few weeks ago, actually in Texas, West Texas. We took it and we sat in the green room and we played this game, and it ate an entire table. And it took the entire time between before our show and then after our show until we decided, hey, I don't want to stick around and see Lecrae tonight. Not that he's not a great artist. He's a great artist, but it was late and it was hot and we were tired of being there. So we were like, let's go back to the hotel. So we played this game for multiple hours that day, the first time we played it. And it's a really, really great game. I actually really like this game. Now, yes, let me give you some cons first, knowing this ahead of time. Setup is a beast, right? You've got to set up for each individual villain you're setting up for. So if you're playing Loki, well, you got to get these villains out, then you got to get this pool of villains out. Once you're past that hurdle of, okay, we're going to play D.A.G.G.E.R. This isn't something you can go, hey, what do you guys want to play? Oh, you want to play Royal Rumble, the card game, or Kites? Oh, what about D.A.G.G.E.R.? No, it is not one of those games. This is a game where you say, hey, tomorrow night, come over at 6. We're going to play D.A.G.G.E.R. I'm going to have the villain set up. Who do we want to fight? Okay. Then once you do that, you've already got it set up on the table and you're ready to roll just straight into the game. Obviously, what I really love about this game is the fact that the front and back-sided characters, the whole legacy thing, to me, that is so cool. You don't just get wounded. Okay. Well, Daredevil goes out and Elektra comes in, or in our case, Elektra goes out and Daredevil comes in. Hulk goes out, She-Hulk goes in. To me, that is such a cool mechanic, and it's a way to get more characters in without going, okay, well, how do we balance all of these characters where each of them can be played at one time? Or you could have She-Hulk, Hulk, and Red Hulk at the same time. Now, Red Hulk's not in the game, but you get what I'm saying. It's balanced front to back, which to me is such a great thing. And in the meantime, you're playing the character on the front, and you go, wow, I really like this character. You get wounded, and you go, oh, dang, I should have played with this person first, right? To me, that is such a cool little push and pull. The art's great. The board is too big. I will say that. You don't need the board to be this big. And in the problem with that being the board is this big, you eat up so much table space you could be using to put your stuff on, to where we had to put our character sheets on different little tables. I think the board's too big. It doesn't need to be that big. Yes, I get it. It wants to be grandiose. And sometimes you can get multiple enemies out there, but it really doesn't need to be this large. There's too much empty space that just doesn't need to be there. I would rather have a spot to put all my cards on the board than to have this, okay, well, there's Madripoor and we go from there to East Australia or South Australia. To me, that's a miss, and I think it could be corrected in a second edition. Let's shrink the board. Let's make it where it's easier to put your stuff around the board instead of having to look like a grandiose game just for the purpose of looking like a grandiose game, to where, okay, let's actually make room on the board for some of these cards and some of these enemies to stay. Let's put a pool 1, pool 2, pool 3 enemies. So at the end of the day, this is a great game for me, but I do think there's a couple flaws in the physical design of it that really hurt it. Now, again, I would also, and again, I know the cost goes up, but I would rather see acrylic front and backs where you play front. Maybe that won't work, but anyway, acrylics instead of cardboard. I get it. That shoots the cost up. I totally understand that, but maybe a deluxe edition with the acrylics. I don't necessarily want miniatures. It's just too much to have to worry about, but I'd love to see acrylic front and back painted standees, kind of like Age of Heroes. Now, play-wise, I really like how this game plays. I like the fact that you just get one action on your turn, and then it's their turn. And how I'm going to take my second action. To me, that feels more strategic and planning. Like you have to plan ahead. Okay, I'm going to move this turn, but then I'm going to attack. Can you do anything in the meantime to mitigate that mission? It's such a good game. Like gameplay-wise, I enjoy the heck out of this game. Sure, there's a couple design tweaks I would make for the board itself. Said that already. But at the end of the day, I really like Marvel D.A.G.G.E.R. It's a 7.5 for me. It'd be an 8, maybe an 8.5 if the board wasn't just such a hog. I know that seems like a quibble because it depends on your board, your table space, but really it doesn't because it's just too big for this instance in this iterant. So 7.5. Oh, forgot to mention, I'll mention the reviews at the end. But anyway, let's take a look at our last game here. This is 13 Words, a game in which you're trying to read each other's minds and go, okay, I bet they meant that. It's a cooperative game, kind of like Just One in the sense that there are words and you're trying to figure out what word the other person meant. So let's take a look at how it plays. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts.
All right, this is 13 words. Yes, there are in fact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 words here. That's why it's called 13 words. The point is this. You will now play as a team, cooperatively. This captain here. Your goal is on your turn, you have the word beam. Well, then you have to select another word that would be close to that. Let's see, sheep, magazine, trumpet, microphone, rainbow. Maybe, yeah, beam of light makes a rainbow. So I'm gonna put mine on 1. I'll put it face down. Everyone else will make their selections. If anybody gets it right, you all get points for the amount of people who got it right. If nobody gets it right, you don't get points. Then let's say we got it right. That person will take the word rainbow, flip it over, and now we have elephant. So technically there's 12 plus 13 words, it doesn't matter. So now somebody has to come up with a clue for elephant. Well, the only thing I see is elephants and, well, there's a lot of animals out there. Oh, I don't know, chocolate elephant. Everybody loves a good chocolate elephant. I don't know. I don't have one. That's what I'm saying. That's why, if you'll see in a minute why when I give the final thoughts, sometimes this situation happens and you just get stuck and there's nothing great. Now, I'm sure someone's like, oh, are you kidding me? You're missing the whole elephant sheep connection. No, I am not. I don't understand. But then you'll get stuck. But anyway, you'll count up points at the end of the game once all but one word has been taken. You'll see how you did, and you'll compare it to this chart on the back of this handy little captain here. And then you just play again and see if you're an ignoramus or not. But that is 13 words.
All right, so that's 13 words. First and foremost, nothing to look at. This game is not a looker. You don't walk past this and go, oh, dang, I got to play that, right? Like Mysterium has that. You walk past Mysterium as a party game and you go, I want to know what that is. That looks awesome. This one looks, you could take the prototype of this with cardboard and cutouts and stuff, and it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. The game is not about looks at all. Sure, the captain looks cool. He's got a dice on his hat, for instance, but what does that matter, right? But the game is not about looks. It's all about interacting with your friends and be like, oh my gosh, of course they meant this. Or why would you say that when this word's out there? Like, those little things are obviously what this game is meant. So that's what it's meant. So really and truly, it's a game all about interaction and fun with your friends. Now, gameplay wise, I really enjoy this. However, there are moments where I'm like, I don't have a clue that's going to help at all. I can't think of anything that's going to be good for this. Like circus, and all I have left is cigarette, gumshoe, and balloon. Well, balloon might work, but, or newspaper. I just don't have anything. So sometimes, based on the randomness of this game, unlike just one, you're going to get a little stuck, and you're hoping that somebody will just get it right, or you take a wash round where you're like, all right, we got no points this round. Let's move on, right? So 13 Words is a good game. It is my third favorite of kind of the in my opinion, I don't know what yours are, but the big 3 word games of our group would be Just One is number 1, So Clover is number 2, and this is actually a game space behind So Clover. So there's something that could fit in there. I just don't know what it is yet. But 13 Words is good. It's not as good as those. I'm going to pick those 2 every single time over this one, but it's a fun game. So that is the roundup for today. So which means we have taken a look at Disney Lorcana. That is a 9.0 for me. I would give it a higher rating, but I don't think that's fair because it's a collectible card game and who knows what happens in the future. As stated, 9.0. Love this game in my collection, in my hobby, in my lifestyle for a long time to come. Number 2, we took a look at Chomp. Chomp is a fantastic little card laying game. It's an 8 for me. I know that seems high, but I don't think I can put it in words just how much fun we have playing this as a family. So again, that may depend on and determine how much you like it is who you're playing it with, but we really like this game. Number 3 was Marvel Dagger. I gave it a 7.5. Would be higher with a couple design tweaks. Great game. Don't hear 7.5 like I do and go, oh, that's a C plus or C mid, just a solid C. A 75 is still better than 75% of other games out there, and it's really good. I'm going to pick this over Eldritch Horror every time. I know that seems like a bit of a stretch, but Eldritch Horror was too wordy with all the cards. This one kind of cuts down on that. And lastly, we took a look at 13 Words, a word game in which you were trying to get people to guess words. And it is a good game. It is not my favorite of the word game party games, but it's a solid 6.5 for me. Mostly because just by the game's design, there are going to be moments that just don't work. Yeah, sure, if you think hard enough, you'll come up with a connection, but really, this is meant to be a fun game, not about, well, dang, I don't have any choices this time. Next person, well, I don't have any choices this time. Oh, cool, I have a choice finally. That's what dings it for me. So it's a 6.5, could be higher if there was a way to somewhat mitigate that, almost like a voting thing where you could throw something out or give an extra clue, pay a token to give an extra clue. To me, it's just, I get it. It's meant to be difficult as it goes along, obviously, but it gets a little stuck sometimes in its own gimmick, right? Like it's trying to do something and then it goes, well, I really can't get around this because that's who I am, right? So it's like the Ultimate Warrior. He's got to go out and he's got to shake the ropes. So he comes out and cuts a promo about how he's feeling sad on the inside. Nobody cares, right? That's not the character. It's not the character of this game. The game is meant to do one thing, but it needs to do a little bit more. So that's this roundup. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan, and get your wonderful Halloween in the meantime while it's still running Dice Tower 2023 Halloween shirt at dicetowerstore.com. I'm Bryan Drake. I'll see you next time.